Hello everybody, welcome at SCOMathon 2025. Here again with yet another session about some fun stuff. So this is a last minute addition due to a change in the planning. So let's go ahead with this session. So today we are talking about SCOM upgrades and migrations, partly because it's also a topic that is quite current. You see many companies running different versions of SCOM and having to move forward to either the next version of SCOM or a migration into a hybrid scenario or even a cloud scenario. And that is something that we want to talk about. Myself, I am Bob Cornelissen. I'm a CTO of Topcore and Innovised, and I'm a 13 times Microsoft MVP. My nickname is SCOM Bob, given to me by the community years and years ago. So some people will recognize me as that. So my 13 years of MVP is for cloud and data center management, and also 1 year for Azure Hybrid. So as the technical director of Topcore, just to quickly say what we are doing, we specialize in observability, insights, and manageability, and Microsoft infrastructures. For SCOM specifically, our special services are performing standardized health checks, providing training at different levels from operator all the way to specialist. We perform implementations, migrations, and upgrades, and extend monitoring and dashboarding for customers. And we have a knowledge partner program as well, which is very successful. Please check out our website for more information. So this is the agenda for this session. We have done the introduction and now we talk about SCOM versions to establish if and why you should or could upgrade your SCOM environment. I will briefly mention some new SCOM features in some of the newer versions, and next we will discuss the SCOM upgrade tree and what other factors you should look at to decide what kind of a migration or upgrade you should select. We have two agenda points here for the in-place and side-by-side migrations, where we mentioned some important points. Next to it, we have the management packs and the tooling. So let's go through this. Let's first have a look at some of the SCOM versions. To show you again where the support lies for a few versions of SCOM, I have this picture. Microsoft uses a fixed lifecycle policy for SCOM. So here are the key dates that you need to know. The bottom part of every block is the mainstream support, and the top part is the extended support, which not everybody has. If you are on SCOM 2012 or older, you are completely out of support. This is a critical risk. And also the Windows Server 2012 that this generally runs on is out of support. SCOM 2016 is only in extended support for several years already, meaning you will get no new features, no security hotfixes, maybe something really, really rare, but do not expect anything here. Crucially also, SCOM 2019 stopped the mainstream support just last year, so that is after 5 years of running in production, in April 2024. So if you are on 2019, you are no longer receiving non-security updates or feature improvements, and you are in extended support. So extended support still has a number of years to go. Keep in mind, this is, a standstill environment at the moment. SCOM 2022 is a current on-premises version, which with a long life support lifecycle, and SCOM 2025 is now available since the end of 2024, showing Microsoft's continued investment in the product along with the Windows versions that System Center gets released with. And also you will see here that SCOM MI is also mentioned as one of the current versions, which is based on SCOM 2022 and then starts moving forward. So the key takeaway, if you are on SCOM 2019 or earlier, you are already starting to miss out on some full support. You want to make a plan of moving forward. If you are on 2016 or earlier, the clock is ticking even faster. So this is a graphic from the big SCOM survey from last year, put on a different background to not have to alter all of the colors too much, so very sorry. Later today there will be a session about the results of the latest survey done in this year, in 2025. I do not have the results of that one yet, but we will see that later. So of course we hope that the ones between, let's say, 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock will be mostly gone, and a group of the SCOM 2019 and SCOM 2022 have migrated into SCOM 2025, which was not listed there yet because it didn't exist at that time in 2024. So this is just to give you an insight into where it's going. You will see in the results of the survey that there will be some shift moving towards also the newer versions there. But there's still plenty that could use the next step. Alright, so why would you want to upgrade to a newer version of SCOM? Well, first of all, I need to mention version support again. We have just seen in the previous slide that you would want to stay within or near the mainstream support. This also has to do with the update rollups coming out for those with fixes and so on. Secondly, are the new features. With every new version of SCOM and also with the update rollups come new features, sometimes more, sometimes less. This includes, of course, support for newer versions of Windows, for the SCOM infrastructure and for the agents, but also improvements in some security measures, such as possibilities to use TLS 1.2 or 1.3 and group managed service accounts, which might be required by your company. Also, some Linux security measures are there. Of course, we do know that migrating up in versions is sometimes depending on the licenses available to your organization. For those on software assurance, it's very easy to just keep moving up in versions. This is what you paid the software assurance for. But keep in mind that staying on the much older versions for price limits you a lot in the above mentioned items, and they might be running on Windows and SQL versions that you would also prefer to get rid of due to their age and support again. For SCOM 2022, I wanted to highlight a number of relatively new features in that version. So a new set of built-in and custom roles for administrator RBAC roles is there, whereby we have a read-only admin, for example, for auditors, and several options for custom admins who can be limited to do only agent management or work with notification subscriptions. An updated option for alert closure to be able to close an alert coming from a monitor whereby the monitor is still in an unhealthy state. The new option would also update the health state back to green while closing the alert. So dashboards and alerts lists both show the same thing. For the installations, there have been improvements, especially while deploying to clustered SQL instances for the SCOM databases. In this version, there is also full group managed service account support from the RTM version installer onwards. A number of visual changes have been done to some of the views here and there throughout the product based on requests made by the community. A nice one is an additional column in the alerts views which points out if an alert is coming from a rule or a monitor, which is actually a request from my side. And Teams notification channel has been added instead of the old IM channel which was there before. And of course, this version of SCOM can be run on Windows Server 2022 for the infrastructure components as well. Briefly about SCOM MI. SCOM MI or SCOM Managed Instance is exactly what you think it is. It's a version of the good old monitoring capabilities of SCOM, minus some of the administrative overhead of maintaining the SCOM Management Group components. formerly known as Azure Monitor SCOM Managed Instance. So that's a long word and it already has an abbreviation in it. It is a version of SCOM hosted in the cloud and uses VMs in Azure as management servers and Azure SQL Managed Instance currently to host its databases. Since these components are managed by Microsoft, this removes some of the responsibility of hardware and software updates and the security patches from the admins. Note that this is different than just lifting and shifting your whole SCOM Management Group as is from on-prem to Azure, which is also possible. So this is different in terms that in such cases you just install everything the same as that you would on-prem, but then put it in Azure as an IaaS service or even in any of the other clouds, right? Where you are still responsible for maintaining the software updates and SQL maintenance. So SCOM MI is then meant to be integrated into Azure Monitor, and you will see more and more Azure Monitor integration coming from that side as we go along. Next we have SCOM 2025. It was released a number of months ago, about half a year ago I think by now. And we have installed and tested the new versions of SCOM 2025 in our environment for a while it was still in preview and in early testing with our friends from the Microsoft Product Group. SCOM 2025 now supports Windows Server 2025 as all of the products of System Center Suite 2025 do. This is for the OS so that it can run on, but also the agents that it will support. We see TLS 1.3 coming into play as well. Currently this works, for example, between an agent and a management server in the same domain, whereby you force the agent at least to use TLS 1.3. There are some things which are not fully TLS 1.3 yet in the backend infrastructure, and also while using certificates we run into some small issues there. But you will see that there's more and more coming there as well. It also provides support for Microsoft Edge versions of a higher level, and later with IE compatibility mode and Google Chrome versions in a higher level as well. Now, although SCOM 2025 support matrix is wider than expected, it is only directly upgradable from SCOM 2022 directly into SCOM 2025. This is the same for any previous version of SCOM. An in-place upgrade is meant to support only one version up directly. And also something to note here, which I see in the bullet list, is the OpenSSL support for the Linux agents is moving upwards as well, and to improve your security posture also when monitoring other products. So here is a slide coming from my upgrade tree slides. We see here in the middle the SCOM versions that we see mostly and a direct upgrade path. As you can see, this is every time just one level up for in-place upgrades. But SCOM does not live alone in this garden. SCOM needs to run on something, right? So let's add the Windows Server versions right now. So those are on the left of the screen, at least for me they are. That these versions of SCOM can run on. So I mean the infrastructure, so the management servers, for example, right? We are not talking about agents right now. So as I hope you realize, System Center gets released with a new release of Windows Server, and thus supports being run on that same year's version. And for compatibility, usually also on the Windows version below it as well. So imagine that you are running SCOM 2016 on Windows 2012 R2. That Windows version is not supported for SCOM 2019. So that will block your direct upgrade path, because the Windows needs to support both the old version and the new version if you want to in-place upgrade SCOM directly. If you have Windows 2016 with SCOM 2016, then you can upgrade to SCOM 2019 directly. And so on, moving upwards. So you see the combination of Windows and SCOM versions and what they support is important here. I think we are lucky here that SCOM 2025 will actually run on 3 versions of Windows, as far as we can see. So let us now make it more interesting by adding the SQL versions to this. So you can see support for mostly 2 or 3 versions of SQL. And again, here also is important that if you run the higher combination of Windows and SQL versions belonging to your current SCOM environment, you can more easily move to the next one because those are supported combinations. Actually, a little bit to my surprise, the support for 3 versions of SQL was also shown for SCOM 2025 as well. By the way, SQL 2025 is not mentioned yet at the top because it's not released. So if at all possible, it might get supported later for SCOM 2025, but obviously it needs to be tested and checked, etc. Usually there is not that much of a problem with it, as it just provides database services, right? So keep in mind that the combination of these here is important for your backend and for the question whether you can directly upgrade from the previous version of SCOM to the new version of SCOM, or from the one you designed today to the next one coming after that. Let's say maybe there is a Windows Server 2028 coming, right? So that's something you can try and envision going forward if you install, for example, a completely new one. Like, yeah, should we stay close to the old one or should we stay closer to the future so we can directly move after that? Okay, so before you just jump in the deep end, we would like to advise you to do an inventory first of what your current SCOM is about. At Topcore, we prefer to run a SCOM health check before we start and actually also after we finish a migration, so we have the current status checked, and also if there are small mistakes we can correct them and then deliver it as an end document in the end to show what was delivered. So you are of course looking for the things mentioned in the previous slide, so SCOM version, Windows version, SQL version for the backend servers of SCOM. Next, we look at what we are actually monitoring or what we wish to monitor, because over the years this changes, right? So you might still be trying to monitor Windows 2012, but it might not be there, while some of your colleagues might be installing Windows 2025 servers, which are not yet supported with this version of SCOM. Just to mention an idea, but there are many other combinations as well over here. And we take a look at the management packs. What products are we monitoring and which versions of those products? Let's say Active Directory for Windows 2019 or SQL for which version, etc., etc. And of course the versions of the management packs used for those. There might be newer versions for those as well. But also think about, are these management packs still needed? Can we, for example, get rid of the Windows 2008 and 2012 type monitoring packs? Or do we see now that we are missing some management packs for products added later with higher versions, or that are not monitored yet because we forgot to put in the management packs for those, or because they forgot to inform us that they are installing new products? Or there might be new versions of an already monitored product installed, whereby we need to upgrade the management pack somehow as well. So now we can decide what type of migration we are looking at. So in bullets, where we are deciding which type of migration we are going to do, the decision on which method to use depends not just on the SCOM version, but also on the Windows and SQL versions as well. If there are too many upgrades for these 3 products involved at the same time in production, there's a larger chance of messing things up, but also there will be many steps involved. In most of those cases, but not all, I prefer to select a side-by-side migration. When going for a side-by-side migration, I have a tip for that, and that is to set up your new environment on the latest version of the supported products because it again gives you the possibility to do an upgrade to a new version of SCOM. And next you can of course copy the configuration across multi-home agents, migrate with less production impact. But let's first start with this step. For SCOM migrations and upgrades, the most important is to make a plan. There are just too many moving parts to think that everything will be alright by inserting a setup disk and putting a weight on your enter key. And yes, I actually have one of those big enter keys right here and it works as well, because it's USB connected. First, check the health of your monitoring environment, your versions, your settings. You need this information for all the next steps. And you need to select a path to either upgrade up or migrate up. Depending on your chosen path, you may make a list of steps needed to get to the end result. First, put in the big steps. These include Windows and SQL updates or fresh implementations. What do we need to get ready for this one? Next, the upgrade or implementation steps for SCOM in main steps. Next, you take these main steps, you split them up into a little bit more detail. However, often you need to consider process as well. Migrations could require new designs, project setups, budget, connections to other projects that are there and other products that are there, and so on. So what you do is you put the steps in a logical order. Granted, some steps will run simultaneously, and for each step determine how much time it costs to get it done. Who is going to do these steps? This can be a SCOM admin or a DBA, somebody at the networking or security team, or an external consultant. Note if, for example, a change is needed and approved by the change board, or if others, such as monitoring users, need to be notified. That way you can work through your worksheet and put checkboxes or change colors according to where you are for each step. And the timeline can be made from this. Some migrations take hours to days, while others require a process spread across several months. You must make sure that you have an account with the correct rights. This account must be a local administrator on the SCOM infra servers, including the management servers, SQL servers, also in a cluster scenario, and the SCOM web and report servers as well. It must at that moment be sysadmin in SQL, and it must also be a SCOM admin. For an in-place upgrade, there are a few steps generally that you need to do to start, such as making sure you have plenty of space in the SCOM database at 50% and that its transaction log file is bigger than normal. This is because of the amount of data going through it at the time of upgrading. You remove agents from pending management. We disable the notification subscriptions. We disable the connectors to other products because we are currently going to mess with stuff, right? We disable the IIS web console and IIS. And we clean the ETL table with a script which is there on the documentation side by Microsoft. So all of these steps are like completely written out already what you need to do. We clean out the ETL table in case you have a large table. Then it will take a long time to clean it during the SCOM upgrade, and then the SCOM upgrade might fail because of a timeout. So that's why we do this first, and then when it is doing it during the migration step, it'll be faster. Now, I would start with the root management server emulators management server. So restart that RMS server first. This is to remove pending restarts, avoid some processes on the SCOM side getting stuck during the upgrade. This is one of those lessons learned from the past. Stop all SCOM related services on the other management servers so that the whole thing comes to a stop right now. Start the SCOM install wizard to upgrade the root management server emulator management server. And please do not start the SCOM installation wizard on multiple servers at the same time. It will cause you problems. So even if you haven't clicked the finish button yet, as soon as you are in the wizard, it already touches the database. So please only start the wizard on one server at the same time. So that is kind of how to go through it. So, and from there we run all of the upgrades from the management servers, the report server, the web server, the gateways, the ACS components. So it's just by moving through the components, right? So this is a process which can be written out it can be written out in Excel or in a step-by-step list that you just follow and take the next step and take the next step. So this is for an in-place upgrade if you already have your Windows and SQL ready and you just in-place upgrade your SCOM version. Now, one thing I like to mention for an in-place upgrade is the option to do a swap migration or a swing migration. This is when you decide to add machines to your current existing management group on Windows and SQL versions that are higher than your current set of SCOM management servers. For example, you can be running SQL 2019 on Windows 2016. And what you now do is you install a few Windows 2019 boxes, you put SCOM 2019 on it, and you start swinging the functionality of the management servers across to the newer servers, and then you remove the older ones. So that way you start building up in your current management group the version of SQL up, the version of Windows up, and then you are ready to do the version of SCOM up in an in-place upgrade. This method does take time and does have a few downtimes for your production in SCOM. We have helped some customers to do this when their management packs and SCOM settings were all stable and good. Now, for the side-by-side migration scenario, where we migrate from an older environment to a newer SCOM environment, which is built up next to it. First of all, you make a design of the new management group. Consider versions, as talked about before, for SCOM, Windows and SQL. Very often your existing SCOM design can be used as a basis for the new one, if the same considerations still apply outside of, well, version numbers. Think about high availability, security, the number of servers required and their specifications. Are you going to use the same service accounts as the old SCOM environment, or are you going to use newer ones, maybe even in a different way, for example, group managed service accounts? But again, this is also a chance to think about, are we actually monitoring everything that we wanted to monitor? Maybe you have only started with a basic monitoring set and now want to move to a more extensive monitoring set of management packs. As we said before, for a side-by-side migration, you need to set up a new SCOM infrastructure. The existing one just keeps running in the meantime. We set up new Windows servers, SQL servers, and SQL reporting. We get our new management group with the first management server there and keep adding management servers as needed. Next, we set up the SCOM reporting server and the web server or any other web console, for example, Squared Up is a very good one, and we can get gateways installed as they are needed. In many cases, this does take some more steps within every item here, and for that reason I again highly recommend putting up a list of main and smaller steps for this, so you don't forget too many things. Next, when the SCOM infrastructure has been set up, you are looking at the migration between two environments. Again, also here applies that it is good to have a list of steps. This is just an example of a very basic list of steps. We talk about management packs, we talk about third-party management packs, we talk about user roles, notification channels, web watcher nodes, and so on. And the agent migration story is here too, which might be several steps in your case, because you might want to create a script or an SCCM package to do the agent upgrade in some of the organizations instead of pushing the agent through SCOM. And of course, at the end, there are some steps about cleaning up the connections to the old SCOM and the old SCOM itself, but also don't forget about the documentation. We can chat about the steps further in another talk, but we are a little bit limited in time here. If you have immediate questions about this, please come and find me. Now, to take some time to think about management packs in relation to migrations, there are several things to consider actually. Let's start with the beginning things then to consider. There is management pack backups, which involves having offline copies of some downloaded management packs, and it involves having a copy of all unsealed management packs in your environment. You could do that in several ways, for example using the Ops Manager self-maintenance pack rule to automatically dump all unsealed management packs into a share every night and include that in a general backup as well after that. Or you can use tools such as Select MP Studio to maintain your total management pack set, and even for multiple environments such as your test and production management groups. Also a nice one if you are using, for example, EasyTune. That is also a way of having a centralized set of tuning packs and tuning configurations, and then being able to later use that central set and then apply it to different environments. Or from the old environment to the new environment. When we are calling it a backup, we still assume we do it for a reason of something going wrong and we need to restore something. Or we can use it as a backup for packs in order to use them for importing into the new SCOM environment while doing a side-by-side migration. To use it for seeding the new SCOM environment with the starting set of packs, Windows, SQL, IIS, etc., etc., etc. We also need to consider third-party management packs. Think about the version of the pack that is supported for your new SCOM version. While doing a side-by-side migration, your management pack group name changes. Some third-party management packs have a license based on the name of your management group, and you might need to just contact them to get a fresh license. That is almost never a problem. You probably have to download several sealed management packs from Microsoft, third-party vendors. There are a number of them online today. Nice, OpsLogix, Squared Up is here. Gitmatics, of course, has a session. So there are several there, and make sure you get your sealed management pack set, especially also the latest versions. And next you get anything that is unsealed, right? So those are the overrides, views, run as profiles, custom monitoring, custom reports, and more. Now that we have arrived at the unsealed management packs, this is where things get interesting while doing a side-by-side migrations. Firstly, you need to get all of the sealed packs imported that you need. Next, we arrive at the unsealed management packs, and here we may run into things. Often while we move up to newer SCOM versions, this is also a nice opportunity to find out that there are some management packs newer than the ones that you have been using so far. For example, the ones that were released after 2016 that are usually version agnostic or version unspecific, so that they will work for anything Windows 2016 and up related. In some cases, this meant a complete overhaul of the old packs, so then they will no longer be compatible with each other. Then you have to remove the old one and import a new one. Also, because there are many references in unsealed management packs to the management packs of Windows and SQL, to name a few, and if they suddenly significantly change, you have to update your unsealed management packs containing overrides or views, or even empty references that no longer point to anything, and clean those up before being able to import them. Some views or distributed apps might reference specific GUIDs, which would stay relevant if a similar base pack is used, such as for Windows or SQL. But if you start using a pack with a completely different class structure, those items will not appear anymore in the custom views until you fix those. Some management pack migrations might be very simple. Sometimes the cleaning up of some things can be done later if first the same set of sealed management packs is imported into the new SCOM environment. But when the opportunity is taken to change a few more things at the same point in time, it may mean some more work for the management packs. So sometimes that often needs fixing as web watchers. When you use the templates to monitor websites, you are pointing to watcher nodes in your network or resource pools. After import into a new management group, those exact same machines or resource pools or management servers may not exist. So then you just need to go in and reselect which machine is the watcher node. And of course, also a good opportunity here to remove old packs that you no longer need. So what's one way to approach this? For example, you could first do a migration of management packs from the old production environment into a new SCOM test environment. So you install a small test environment, I hope you do anyway, and you just try and move the management packs in there, clean things up, throw things away that you no longer need, etc. So you will have a relatively clean new set of downloaded packs with the overrides, with everything that you need. And then we move that whole set that we just downloaded, we have just exported that from the new test environment, and we put it into the new SCOM production environment. So we can do that, the difficult work in the first step, and then the second step will be the easy part. Of course, you could go directly between two production environments, but just make sure that there are not many agents in there yet and that you are not creating tickets and emails from the new environment until you have finished cleaning it all up. As I said before, there are several tools or methods out there to facilitate management pack migrations, ranging from manual work in XML, which I often run into, to using tooling which can help you, like DevOps repositories, automation, EasyTune, asking Bob to take care of it. Maybe he will ask a colleague then to take care of it. For example, using Select products for this. So there are also combinations possible and likely, of course. So let me just show you a quick slide for the Select MP Studio. For example, also very useful if you are doing a multi-step migration in here. What Management Pack Studio does is it has a repository of sealed and unsealed management packs. That means that you can easily keep your production and test environments in sync during normal times, but you can also use it to say, well, I need some of these packs and I need to put them in a new environment, and maybe a different set to move along to that new test environment. Then once you have that set, you can move it and copy it into your new production environment as well. MP Studio here, it will generate all the possibilities. So then we can get into the migration assistant. This is the migration assistant right here, also in the same product. So quite nice. You can move management packs, you can move user roles, run as configurations, custom states, agents, maintenance schedules, notifications, etc. So it can give you many possibilities. All right, so because SCOM consultancy is one of the main things that we do at Topcore, we have seen a lot of migrations, big and small. Also, every organization and SCOM implementation is a little bit different. Of course, smaller implementations of just one version lower and kept clean can be updated in a very short time, while larger organizations can take up to a year, especially with multiple management groups, a lot of diverse monitoring and procedures, especially that you need to wait for. Of course, this would involve more than just a backend migration. Usually, we mostly start with an inventory and then run it again after the migration is done, and then use it to combine it with a training and have it be the documentation as well. After you are migrated, you can build out more business value within your SCOM monitoring by looking at the management packs, making more monitoring available, creating distributed applications to reflect your business critical applications, and putting those on dashboards for different stakeholders to see. And this then creates business value from your monitoring and IT department for your organization. And this is then also the starting point for the next step, which would be, can we look forward? Can we correlate things together? Now we are talking about AI ops, we are talking about hybrid monitoring and more, such as which we will have in several other sessions today. So, key takeaways: move from older versions of SCOM towards SCOM 2022 and 25, or see if SCOM Managed Instance fits your requirements. Look at the versions of Windows, SQL and SCOM that you currently have to see if you can do an in-place upgrade, if that is at least a possibility, or if a side-by-side migration is required. Both require planning because we are talking about an enterprise tool with some complexity, and every SCOM environment is unique. This means that in medium to large setups there are steps to be taken. The management pack migration is usually the bigger part though, and there are tools that can help you on the way here. For many SCOM admins, this is not part of their daily or even early routine, and it is a good idea to contact expert help to aid in the migration process if you need it. Of course, we will be more than happy to help you there. And I can announce that we have created a one-day training on the topic of SCOM migrations and upgrades, because this topic is much larger than many think, and 40 minutes is just not enough. We regularly run this training, so contact us for booking the next run and come and chat with us if you need help faster with the migration. So that brings me to the end, and I want to thank you very much for attending this session. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. We can discuss them with you in the Meet the Speakers area in the room next door, or find us online somewhere sometime. All right, that's it. Thank you very much.